welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. Believe it or not, it felt like just yesterday we were getting this started. We're at section championship weekend already. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, and it's been a fun season. But first things first, I'm Jordan.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Matt.
All right, guys, a big weekend coming up, a big weekend to recap. But first off, let's, get into us. How was your guys' weekend?
Pretty good. Yeah. I worked a little bit yesterday. Saturday, I went to one heck of a water polo match after I worked my other job, and I will get into that as we get into the show. But it was a crazy match. And then went out for my friend's 25th birthday. We grabbed some Korean barbecue, and I learned that calamari steak, when it's Korean barbecue, pretty darn good.
All right, I have to put that on my list of stuff to try. Matt, what about you? How was your weekend?
Hey, no complaints. Not much to say about it. No complaints.
All right, I like it. I like it. It's always funny. We say no, like people say no complaints. I just want once someone to be like, I actually have a list of complaints here. And then just like what was the Seinfeld episode when he goes, I got a lot of problems with the people, and now you're gonna hear about it. So we had a big week of high school football this Friday night. Aaron, you were at the smallest school in the area in the West Park Capital Christian game. Kind of talk to me about what you saw there.
So, West Park Capital Christian D4 semifinals, Panthers Cougars. It was a pretty darn good game. Panthers came up short 41-34. They were once again forced to make a late comeback. Capital Christian started the game up 14-0 as Kanye Clark had a rushing touchdown along with a punt return touchdown. But the Panthers got back in it as Barksdale connected with Isaiah Style for a 5-yard score. Ryan Sisson for West Park intercepted a pass on the first play of the ensuing drive, and Barksdale connected with Weston Wade for a 14-yard score to tie the game. The second quarter was pretty ugly. One thing that I want to mention is there was a ton of penalties on both sides. West Park had a couple of personal foul penalties that really hurt them at crucial times. Capital Christian finished with about 17 penalties for 140 yards. It didn't end up mattering, but it's just still interesting. I mean, it's crazy to see that many penalties in a game. And I've seen this happen at West Park earlier this year, and it was on West Park side, and they still had it. It was just a bad times. That kind of hurt them a little bit in the second quarter. They didn't score any offensive points. Neither did the Cougars, but the Cougars managed to get a defensive touchdown. It was a 15-yard pick six by John Henry Roos to make it 21-14 at halftime. Roos got a sack midway through the third quarter that resulted in a turnover on downs, and then Cougars quarterback Eddie Brusuelas took advantage with a 7-yard trot into the end zone. He, along with Clark, were both kind of running quarterback all night. They ran some wildcat. They were both very mobile at the quarterback position, and it really made it hard on the Panthers defense. However, even though the Panthers were down 2 scores in the third quarter, Barksdale responded back once again, this time with a 26-yard run to make it 28-21. The Cougars went on to score 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter, making it a 3-score game with 6 minutes to play. So, if it's any other team and I'm at that game, I'm thinking, okay, they're out of it. Game's done. No chance. But, West Park, as we've seen, they were down 42-7 against Placer, came back and made it a 1-score game. Against Lincoln, they were down 3 scores in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go, and they ended up winning that game. So I was thinking, okay, they might still have a chance here if they can pull off something, get a turnover. And they did manage to make a decent comeback. They came back with Barksdale scoring off of a 5-yard run. And then after they got a stop and used all 3 of their timeouts, Barksdale drove down the field again, connected with Jordan Morris for a 1-yard score. That was his 5th touchdown of the night. That made it 41-34 with 1:36 to play. And so it's an onside kick situation. Panthers actually get the onside kick. Vickers had a really good kick, went about 12 yards, and they got it back. However, one Panther player was about a half a step offside, so they had to re-kick it. And second kick was really good as well. Had one of their players been there about a half a step earlier, ironically, it probably would have been Panthers ball, but to no avail. Capital Christian got it, and they win the game 41-34. They're going to be taking on Vanden in the section championship. For the Panthers, it was a great season for them. I talked with Coach Tenner after the game, and they've really seen a lot of progression with that program ever since, they were sophomores. Of course, last year they won the Greater Sacramento League, and then they had a 6-game win streak, made it on to playoffs, lost first round to Placer. This year they win a playoff game, get a first round bye, make it to section semis 9-2. So definitely progression in that program. Even though they're graduating guys, I think they've got a great future ahead of them with the juniors they have, along with their youth program.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a program that's on the upswing for sure. And I would not be shocked to see West Park being a household name in high school football soon. Matt, kind of throwing it over to you. You were at a pretty big one, I guess you could say, in Division One, and you're the one that's got two teams left in the picture. So, kind of talk about, I guess, both of the games from Division One.
Yeah, well, let me start with Oak Ridge. I wasn't up there, but they shut out Turlock 24-0, which to me, was a huge surprise considering Turlock just beat St. Mary's and scored 50 points. So, I mean, I know Oak Ridge defense is their strength, but I would have thought Turlock would have scored something. I mean, geez. So I only watched the first quarter on the NFHS of that game. So, but Oak Ridge obviously shut them out. Like I said, I wasn't there, but it's just I'm not surprised that Oak Ridge won. I'm just surprised they shut them out. So a nice win for Oak Ridge, and they go from 3-7 last year to the section championship game. So a great leap for them, and congratulations to the Trojans. I was at Folsom. That was a 62-27 win for the Bulldogs. It wasn't as close as I thought it would be, especially how it started. Central Catholic was up 13-7, and before that, let me get ahead of myself here. Folsom offense did look good their first possession. It's bound to happen. Sometimes they get off to a slow start, punted the ball away. Second play of the game, and Central Catholic running back Tyler Jacklich had a long touchdown run. I don't have it in front of me, but very long run on the second play of the game. And then I think Folsom scored. But anyway, long story short, Jacklich had over 100 yards rushing, 3 carries into the game. And Folsom was down 13-7. I'm just like, this is not good. But Folsom, again, sometimes they get off to a slow start, but their defense just always seems to figure it out. And they obviously figured it out because, Folsom scores 34 unanswered points, 34-0 to turn a 13-7 deficit into a 41-13 lead, and pretty much game over at that point. So, but one key moment of this game, I'm not a football coach. I'm not here to criticize coaches. They know far more than I do. But second half, Folsom leads 28-13 at halftime. Central Catholic punts the ball away on their first possession. Folsom punts the ball back. So it's still 28-13. Central Catholic has the ball at their own 12-yard line on 4th and 1, and they go for it, and they don't make it. Next play, Folsom's touchdown. And, if the game wasn't over yet, I mean, that made it 34-35 to 13. But I don't know why he went for it there. I mean, he's only down 2 scores. If he punts it there, at least it makes it harder for Folsom to score. But that was the key play of the second half. And then after that, they just traded touchdowns the rest of the way. So Folsom looked pretty good in that one.
All right, I like it. And hey, an all SFL final, I guess that confirms what we knew all along. The SFL is still the top dog, and we get one of the best rivalries in the area. And speaking of great rivalries in the area, I was at another one of those, a great SFL rivalry. Actually, I was at Del Oro Granite Bay, which was a rematch of their September 30th matchup. And what's funny is it went almost the exact same way as the first one, but for the opposite team. So Del Oro goes out there, they move the ball a little bit, but they end up punting on the first drive. Granite Bay gets the ball. They go 3 and out, and then Del Oro actually blocks the punt, and it's looking like, okay, Dio might just run away with this one. And Del Oro, moves the ball well. A pretty rough holding penalty kind of moves them outside of the red zone. And then they end up going for it on 4th down. They kind of got stuck in that little, the no man's land, that kind of purgatory little area where it's too close to punt it, but too far for that field goal. They end up going for it on 4th and long in that little, no man's land area. They don't get it. Granite Bay goes down, and they end up scoring touchdown 7-0. Dio gets down inside the goal line area once again. Kicks a field goal on that, so 7-3. It was a 24-yard field goal. It was kind of a tough one. I almost thought they should have gone for it, but I get it in a rivalry game and in a playoff game, you take the points, and obviously hindsight is 2020. Then Granite Bay goes down, scores a touchdown, it's 14-3. Dio marches down the field on the next drive, and Kayasiya ends up punching it in on, I believe, a 3rd and goal situation to make it 14-10 with about 53 seconds left. And then it looks like all Dio needs to do is just hang on right here. Do not let anything big happen. And the problem is something big happened because Granite Bay's quarterback finds Joey Catolico for a 39-yard touchdown with about 13 seconds left in the half, and Granite Bay takes a 21-10 lead, which was just a backbreaker for Del Oro. And then Dio came out and they pitched a shutout in the second half. I mean, their defense just really, Granite Bay had no answer for Dio's defense in the second half. But the problem is Dio didn't have much of an answer for Granite Bay's offense. Caden Pinnock really picked it up in the second half a lot. He finished the game. He was 16 of 24 with, I believe, 142 yards. And then on the ground, he had 12 carries for 54 yards. And, you know, as anyone who's watched him this year knows, he just does that thing where it looks like he's down. You're ready to write sack down on your stat sheet. And then all of a sudden, somehow, he's rolling out of the pocket again and he finds someone 20, 30 yards down the field. It's like, how did you escape that? And he didn't do a lot of that in the first half, and he did a lot more of it in the second half. And then Del Oro, though, they get a couple big stops. They take over their own 7-yard line with about just under 7 minutes left, and they're just marching down the field. They had a 4th and 20 at one point. They got a PI call, turns into a 4th and 5. They get the first down. I think they converted 3 fourth downs on this drive. Del Oro gets inside the 30-yard line, and then an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty drives them 15 yards back, which is a huge one. You can't take that penalty there. And credit to Granite Bay's Frank Casano. He was getting the penalty anyway, but I always love when a kid is getting an unsportsmanlike penalty. You know, they knew they drew that flag, and they just make sure to sell it just that extra little bit. It's always one of my favorite things to see. And as a fellow big guy too, when you see a big guy sell it too, it's a lot more fun. And but I mean, you can't take that penalty if you're Dio, and it wasn't sportsmanlike. Then the very next play, one of my favorite names I've heard this year, Cameron Kaminsky, the defensive tackle at Granite Bay, punches the ball out, and all Dio can do is watch helplessly as it goes into Isaiah Ene's hands. He recovers the fumble. Del Oro actually stops Granite Bay on this drive. It was only about a minute left in the game when Granite Bay got it. Dio stopped him and got the ball back with 2 minutes or 2 seconds left. Sorry, not 2 minutes. That time's not moving backwards here, but it's funny. So they do, the last second lateral play, and I actually asked Catolico after the game because it looked like there was a huge dog pile. I didn't see any. I was standing on the other end of the field because I knew it was a 98-yard prayer, but I wanted to be where they were going to be potentially scoring the touchdown, not where the play was starting, just because I figured even if it's a crazy lateral play, it'd still end up down the field a little bit. And it ended up the play being pretty much in the end zone. No one really knows if Granite Bay actually scored a touchdown on that last play. I asked several people. I asked both coaches. No one knew. I didn't see any motion from the refs. No one put anything up on the scoreboard. So the official final score I have right now is 21-16 Del Oro, or 21-16 Granite Bay, excuse me. But it might be 27-16. It's kind of the game no one really knows what the final score is. That's a mystery that will live on for generations. People will say that it was 27. People say it was 21. There will be arguments about Twitter. Families will be divided. Friends become enemies. Enemies become friends. All that fun stuff. Well, what's weird, Granite Bay ends up winning.
What's weird is on Max Preps, the score tracker said 21-16, but the final score put in was like 27 or 28-16. So right there, you don't know what the score is.
I mean, it's just in the world of fake news, we need to have this hard-hitting story. What was the final score of Del Oro Granite Bay 2.0? But nonetheless, Granite Bay won this game. They played an incredible game. I mean, Isaiah Ene and Carter Jackson are both just incredible backs. Jackson had 18 carries for 99 yards. Ene had 15 carries for 80 yards. But the player of the night for Granite Bay was Frank Casano. He had 2 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. But his big impact was on defense. I think we had him down something like 14 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, a sack. I mean, I know they don't give pass rushes as a stat in high school, but it felt like he was in Pinnock's face all night. I mean, he was causing problems for Del Oro the entire night.
I've actually got his total right here: 13 tackles with 4 tackles for loss and a sack, 7 assisted tackles, 2 hurries, and a caused fumble.
So I guess you could say that's a decent night for Casano.
I
mean, he was just,
that,
he was everywhere. He's going to have his hands full this week though with Mantika, and I know we'll get into that a little bit. But they've got a pretty talented back over there that's committed to. I'm looking forward to that game because he's committed to my favorite school. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to get into some of the athletes of the week. For me in my area, I've really only got one, and interestingly enough, it's a first on this show. If we have confetti, we can shoot the confetti guns up. But our athlete of the week up here in the Auburn area is an NFL player, and that is Stone Smart, the Del Oro High School graduate, made his NFL debut last night on Sunday Night Football for the Chargers, and he reeled in a reception for 6 yards. Stone broke. He was an undrafted free agent out of Old Dominion. He was a quarterback through high school and most of college, and then he ended up making the switch to tight end his senior year at Old Dominion. Comes into the Chargers as an undrafted free agent, and he got hurt in the offseason and ended up having to have surgery on his foot. So he was on the non-football list. And then my understanding, I'm friends with a pretty good friend of his, is he got activated after the foot injury to the practice squad. And his first day on the practice squad, he got tasked with blocking Khalil Mack and got a concussion and got put right back on the injury list. And he gets cleared finally, makes his NFL debut last night, reels in a catch for 6 yards. So congratulations, Del Oro alum Stone Smart. You are my athlete of the week, my notable performance of the week. A couple other ones I've got in the area. The big one is Caden Pinnock, actually Stone Smart's cousin. Like I said, great performance. So what made his performance so special too, and what a lot of people didn't realize, is Caden Pinnock was playing with a pretty terrible flu bug in that game. So I talked to Maben about it after the game. He just said, the grit that he showed to be out there tonight and to, carry the team the way he did. And you wouldn't really know he had the flu the way he was playing. I mean, he looked like himself. That performance was impressive enough. And I mean, I think Aaron and Matt, you can attest, when I get a minor cold, I am down for the count for like 4 days. Like I need to be cared for. You need to be, sending in letters to the extended family, letting them know that, hey, this may be it. And so the fact that he went and played in that game with that is just tremendous job. So Caden Pinnock, Stone Smart, I guess we're keeping it in the family. You guys are my athletes of the week. Aaron, throwing it over to you. What were some of the big performances you saw this week?
Well, first off, I'll say, if Jordan, if your career as a sports board doesn't make it out, you should go and be a comedian somewhere. But we'll go ahead and start with some of my favorite, some of my players of the week. I mentioned Barksdale. He definitely didn't start with a great night side of the ball, but I mean, he really got things going in the second half. 21 of 44 for 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 13 carries for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was their leading rusher on Friday night. We mentioned Cusano, I already mentioned pretty much everything he did. The 27-yard touchdown pass he caught as well. So he's going to be my South Placer athlete of the week. Elias Brown of Rockland, even though Rockland lost 34-28, Elias Brown had a great game, 121 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, plus a 46-yard touchdown reception. So big night for him. I want to get into a couple other sports, though. Wood Creek Water Polo, which I'll talk about that game a little bit more in depth here in a moment. But Allison Boudreau, the senior, 4 goals, including a game winner for the Timberwolves in the 11-10 win over Stevenson School in the NorCal Championship. She's actually going to be graduating in about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a month from today. She's graduating a semester early, so great way to finish out her high school career in both respects. Julianne Cotterill of Sierra College women's basketball. They just won the Sasha Brown Classic, Sierra College. Of course, they're coming off of winning the state championship last year against Delta. Cotterill, the Granite Bay alumna, averaged 20.6 points per game and 12.6 rebounds per game in the tournament. And then my Lincoln area athlete of the week is going to be Benny Jomo of Lincoln High School boys basketball. He had 28 points in the Zebras' opening home victory, 52-48 over River Valley on Friday night.
All right, I like it. Matt, up with you. You've got a ton of football teams still in. You've got some big teams still in the area. What were some big performances you saw this week?
My athlete of the week for starters is Folsom Lake women's soccer goalkeeper Grace Filial. Folsom Lake is the #1 seed in the Triple C Double A NorCal Regional Playoffs, and she has only allowed 4 goals this entire season. So she is my athlete of the week. But yeah, Folsom had some really outstanding numbers here, stats from Friday's game. Austin Mack, quarterback, 34 out of 43 for 460 and 7 touchdowns. Rico Flores, 8 catches, 118 yards and a touchdown, and that was only in the first half. Brian Ray, career night for him, 13 catches, 198 yards and 2 scores. And then up at Oak Ridge, only their defensive stats have been posted on Max Prep, but Nolan King and Gavin Malloy both had 12 tackles.
All right, impressive. We had some big ones out there. We also had some big team performances. I guess I'll start. The Forest Lake Christian girls volleyball team made their run to the NorCal championship game. I made the 4-hour drive up to MacArthur to watch them play Fall River in the championship Tuesday night. It was a heartbreaking match for them, but Forest Lake actually they went up 2-0. They pulled some great comebacks in the first 2 sets. The third set kind of got away from them. They lost 25-9. The fourth set, though, it was 30-28. Forest Lake had Fall River to the match point 4 different times in that. And I mean, it was just, I don't know if you can call it luck, skill, divine intervention, but somehow on some of these shots, Fall River was able to dig it or just able to get a hand on it and get it over the net somehow. And they ended up pulling it out and then pulling it out in the final set. So Forest Lake, I know it's a heartbreaking loss, but congratulations, your NorCal runner-ups. First time getting there, I think, since 2018, when they actually lost to Fall River in that one as well. But congratulations to them on a great season. And then, we have some cross-country runners running in the state championship this next weekend. So that's something to keep an eye on. We got runners from Placer, Colfax, and Forest Hill in that one. And Aaron, kind of throwing over to you. I know you've had some big ones. You had a championship one as well, a state NorCal title over there. So kind of talk to me about that this week.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start with that. Wood Creek girls water polo, just the best water polo match I've ever seen. Wood Creek was down 10-6 with a minute left in the third quarter and scored 5 unanswered goals in the last 7.5 minutes to win the game 11-10. Again, I mentioned Boudreaux. She had 4 goals in the match, including the game winner with 27 seconds to go. Emily Jones, their goalkeeper, did a great job, especially in the second half. She had 6 saves. One thing, it was a 5-5 game after the first quarter. Both sides were really doing well. And a thing I wanted to mention too, Stevenson School, the school that they played, they are literally in Pebble Beach, sandwiched in between Poppy Hills and Spyglass Hill golf courses. So I don't know if you can ask for a better location for a school like anywhere in the world. But yeah. A good spot team there. Right? And anyways, they were led by senior Sophia Bozo. Yeah, I would imagine they have probably a pretty good golf team there. Yeah. Sophia Bozo, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. 3 goals, the senior for the Pirates. Emerson Ferreira, the sophomore, had 5 goals in the match. But it really, everybody on Wood Creek side contributed down the stretch. Olivia Dam had 2 goals. Sophia Paez had a goal with 4 minutes to go in the match. Then Angelina Nadora had a goal with 2 minutes to go. And then Reagan Chavez with 62 seconds remaining to tie the score. So it's a crazy comeback by Wood Creek. All the coaches jumped into the water after the match, and just a great atmosphere. They had a huge student section there. The Timberwolves was out. I talked to Coach Kerrigan after the match, and she actually started she started her playing career at Clayton Valley Charter in Concord. Then she played in college at Sierra College, actually, from 2009 to 2011. She played water polo and swimming. She was actually a 2-time All-American and was the captain of the water polo team. She went on to go back to Clayton Valley Charter to coach for 4 years. Before then, she returned back here to coach for Wood Creek. So she's kind of been in and out of the area. But her first year as head coach, and that program, NorCal champions for the first time after being section champions for the first time. So huge congrats to them. This is actually Wood Creek's second NorCal title of the year. Their boys volleyball team beat Jesuit back in May to win the NorCal title. So 2 in a year. That's huge for Wood Creek. So yeah, first off, just congrats to them. I wanted to highlight a couple of the other football games from the area. I mentioned Rockland lost to Manteca. They were up 28-19 going into the fourth quarter, and we're looking really strong. It's just Manteca, with the amount of firepower they have with Nicholson, with Davis, with all those guys, just managed to outbeat and outlast Rockland that one in the fourth quarter. Wood Creek was tied 14-14, but lost on a touchdown with 22 seconds to play. They lost 20-14. I'm coining this as the water polo curse. And the reason I say that is if we go back to last week, Jesuit beat Rockland, the Rockland boys water polo team, on Monday. And then Rockland went to beat Jesuit on that Friday night in football. Well, Wood Creek in the first round of the girls water polo playoffs beats Christian Brothers at home. And then Wood Creek football goes on the road and loses to Christian Brothers. So it's officially the water polo curse. You can't win both sports apparently in the playoffs in the same week. That's a new rule, I guess. But a couple other things, it's the start of basketball season now. West Park, Whitney, and Valley Christian Academy all picked up wins on Saturday, along with 12 Bridges. Lincoln won on Friday against River Valley, as I mentioned, and then Rockland won their first game of the season before they lost 78-77 to Ponderosa on Saturday. On the girls basketball side, Whitney, Rockland, Oakmont, and Wood Creek all picked up wins on Friday, while Valley Christian also won on Saturday.
All right, I like it. And now I guess we're kind of throwing it over to well, before we wrap up, or before we throw over to where we're going to be over the weekend, do we have anything else with the other sports we want to give a shout out to or anything like that?
I'm going to be at Sierra College on Tuesday for women's soccer. They are going to be hosting, I believe, Solano, and then I'm going to be going to their women's volleyball match as well. They're also in the playoffs for that, so I'll be hitting both of those tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see how far Sierra can make it in the playoffs. Their football team, despite losing the last 3 games of the season, they actually are going to be playing in a bowl game against Diablo Valley. I believe it's the Gridiron Classic on December 3rd. So Sierra Sports all in the playoffs, and we'll see how far they can get.
All right, Matt, how about you?
One of you guys mentioned, the state cross country meet is Saturday. So, I've got both Vista Lago teams are there, and Oak Ridge varsity girls, and then Troy Esparza from Oak Ridge and Nathan Short from Folsom. So they'll be running there. And then again, I mentioned the Folsom Lake College women's soccer team is the number 1 seed in the NorCal playoffs. So they can go deep. They can make a deep run.
All right, I like it.
And I have a couple teams.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say I have a couple teams from cross country that are going to be on. Yeah, I have a couple teams for cross country that are going to be there on Saturday. Both Whitney teams are going to be there. The Granite Bay girls are going to be there. Tyler G of Wood Creek's going to be there. 2 Western Sierra athletes, Graham Martin and Ryan True, are going to be there. I got a plethora of athletes that have made it on to state, so it'll be interesting to see how they all do.
Definitely. And, a little shout out from me. I know we got some girls basketball starting up this week. Tonight, Bear River and Sac High actually play each other. 2 pretty good programs. Bear River is the defending section champion. Sac High has got a lot of section championships under their belts. 2 teams are kind of in a little bit of a rebuilding phase right now. Bear River, I still think, is going to be competitive. I'll admit I do not know a ton about Sac High's girls basketball team this year, but it should be a decent match or decent game. So shout out to them for opening the season tonight. Placer opened up the season against Vista Del Lago on Friday night. It was a game that I think, Matt, you told me it was supposed to be actually played on a different day, but it had to get moved to Friday night because of scheduling conflicts, and it was pretty much a Vista Del Lago shoot around. If you look at the final score, I think it was 74-26 or something like that in favor of the Eagles. But kind of moving on to this Friday, Matt, we'll start with you. You've got the big one. I know we're going to be joined by one of these coaches later on the show of Casey Taylor and Oak Ridge, but Friday night Division I championship, Folsom, Oak Ridge. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, well, these obviously they met early in the season, and it was. Folsom won easily by looking at the final score, but at the halftime the score is 21-13, so it's still a ball game. And Folsom scored 3 touchdowns in the first half, and Oak Ridge had a touchdown, 2 field goals. So the difference was the red zone. Folsom scored touchdowns, Oak Ridge got field goals. And the second half, Rico Flores had a couple of long touchdown passes that kind of put some distance away between the 2 teams. And in fact, Folsom shut out Oak Ridge in the second half. They didn't score. So, and then everybody knows that it's been since 2006 that Oak Ridge has beaten Folsom. So it's that said, it's hard to beat team twice. And Oak Ridge has, I'm sure they're probably more confident now than they were when they played earlier in the season. A, it's a neutral site. B, they've gone through the SFL. They finished tied for second there. They beat Del Oro. So they're healthier. Oak Ridge is, Casey Taylor said they're healthier now than they have been in quite almost all season. So they've been backed up. So they're kind of entering this game feeling good. Folsom, they're going to be without their number 2 receiver, Ontario Smith, who got 2 unsportsmanlike penalties last week, so he can't play in this game. And like I said, Rico Flores twisted his ankle against Central Catholic, did not play in the second half. I don't know if he's going to play Friday. I don't know if he knows yet. If he doesn't play, or even if he does play and he's not 100%, that's obviously a big, that's going to, it weakens Folsom and it helps Oak Ridge's chances. So this could be a close game. Oak Ridge could win this game. I'm not picking Oak Ridge to win this game just because they haven't beat Folsom in so long. But again, I know I say this all the time, but it wouldn't surprise me if Oak Ridge beat them. So they could do it, but it just makes it's going to be harder for Folsom to win this game without their top 2 receivers, or without their top receiver at 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be a great game. It's hard in the SFL to pick anyone to beat someone twice, but if there's a team that can do it, it's definitely Folsom. I mean, they check the boxes, but hey, I know Folsom hasn't or Oak Ridge hasn't beaten Folsom in 16 years, and I know in sports we don't have necessarily being due, but at some point in a game like that, you got to think Oak Ridge is going to get their number eventually. So that should be a great one.
I think it will be.
All right. And Aaron, I know you and I are going to be in the same place on Saturday. We're going to be chasing down 2 different stories, but that's going to be the Division II championship game and more SFL action. We've got number 1 seed Manteca taking on Granite Bay at Sac City, the 6th seed. Aaron, kind of talk to me what you're expecting out of that game.
Yeah, like you said, it'll be the D2 championship at Hughes Stadium, Sac City, Granite Bay, Manteca on Saturday. I've said week after week that I feel like, Granite Bay is a year away just because of the youth and the inexperience of being in the playoffs with all the sophomores, the freshmen they have, all the underclassmen. But, they have so much talent that they've been able to get by these teams. I wasn't super surprised at them, I guess, upsetting Downey. But I kind of was a little bit surprised they beat Del Oro last week. They've really just shown how strong that they are talent-wise, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do against Manteca. Manteca was the D3 champion last year. They're going to try to go back-to-back and now be D2 champions. Granite Bay's got a ton of talent on defense with Isaiah Ene and Frank Cusano, and then McCade Long and Carter Jackson on the offensive side of the ball, along with Joey Catolico. On the flip side, Manteca came back from down 9 in the final quarter to beat Rockland. They have a ton of talent with Blake Nicholson leading the way. He had 170 yards and 2 scores against the Thunder. Elijah Cota and Bryson Davis also had solid games last week for the Buffaloes. I still worry that the inexperience of this atmosphere and being in a section championship game could play a role for Granite Bay. But again, Joe's a great coach over there, and he has a great history. Obviously before he was at Granite Bay, was at Roseville, and he's been at a couple other schools and he's taken them far. I still think Manteca is going to get the D2 title. It should be a good game. I'm going to go 31-27 Buffaloes.
All right, I'm with you. I think on a final score margin, I was going to say 34-31. Or I guess that's my math is off. That'd be a 34-30 for the same final score margin. So, hey, you know what? The reason I went into journalism is because I'm not good at math. I'm good at writing. So, but I'm kind of with you on that. I think Granite Bay, I'm kind of making the hot take. I wouldn't be shocked. Granite Bay, I think, is going to win an SFL title in the next 2 years with the talent they have and how young it is. I think that they're a little bit ahead of schedule right now as far as making it to a section title game. An interesting tidbit I heard, I know I mentioned that Pinnock was playing with the flu for Del Oro. And the flu was kind of running rampant through Dio's locker room this week. Granite Bay actually, during SFL play, had a similar situation, I was told, of the flu kind of running rampant through the locker room. So I know they have that 1-4 SFL record, but it makes you kind of turn your head a little bit and wonder, like, hey, how many of those games might have come out the other way, especially some of those close ones, if you guys were playing it 100%. So it kind of makes you interested to see, hey, is this Grant Bay team maybe finished 6-4 in the regular season? Is that a team that could have been 8-2 or 9-1 had, they now had a little sickness run through the locker room? But I'm with you, Aaron. I think Manteca, just with the weapons they have with Nicholson, I mean, 4-star recruit committed to Florida State. And I always say, how good you have to be to get noticed by Florida State out of Manteca High School. I mean, the fact if you're on the West Coast and they're noticing you, and if you're at a public school on the West Coast, that had Manteca, a great football program, but isn't the biggest school in the world. I mean, you've got some talent. And that kid definitely is as advertised. Bill Poindexter, who joined us last week, he said that in that game, it was very interesting. Rockland kind of slowed Nicholson down in the first half. I think he had 24 yards in the first half and 146 in the second. So, I mean, I think Nicholson is the type of guy that I don't know if you can expect to stop him for a full 60 minutes. I think you almost need your game plan around a guy like him on both sides of the ball is how do we shut him down for as long as we can and then hope that it's just too late when he gets it going. And I think it's going to be an interesting chess match to see how Catolico kind of handles that. Cause I think, outside of Rico Flores, I mean, you could probably make the argument this is probably the best player Granite Bay has seen all season long. And I mean, he's explosive. He is every bit as advertised. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Grizzlies kind of handle that and how the young team handles that. I think Frank Casano going up against Nicholson, it's going to be a great matchup. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to say Manteca 34-30. It's going to be a great game, though.
I agree.
And all right, as far as that goes, I know a big weekend. It's going to be Thanksgiving weekend. So here's the real question I guess I'll leave us with before we go is what is the best Thanksgiving food and the best Thanksgiving tradition?
So I don't know how many people will agree on this, but sweet potatoes with cinnamon and butter. You have to make it like a sweet, almost where it's like a dessert, but it's still a little bit healthy. I love sweet potatoes. So yeah, sweet potatoes for me.
All right, I like it. Matt, what about you?
Well, I'm making mean yams, so that's kind of the same thing as sweet potatoes, right? So that's pretty good. And I like my stuffing too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I like it. My I gotta say I'm probably I do love sweet potatoes and yams. I gotta say though, stuffing, I'm with you, Matt. I think a well-made stuffing is one of the best things about Thanksgiving, especially I'd say the best meal of Thanksgiving is actually Friday when you're sitting there watching college football and you get the leftovers and you just put the turkey, the cranberry sauce, the stuffing, and all that on the sandwich, and then you make the Thanksgiving leftover sandwich. Maybe that's just me, but hey, that's one of my favorites.
Hey, Jordan, I got a question for you. Does your fiance know about when you get sick?
Oh yeah, she's very aware. She calls me a baby when I'm sick, but I don't.
Okay.
She understands that the pain a man feels when he has a cold is similar to childbirth, I believe. So I get in trouble when I say that, but I'm told I'm over dramatic, whatever that. But all right, guys. Well, that's going to just about do it for this week's episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. Stay tuned for all of our section championship coverage in this next week. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron.
And I am Matt.
We will see you next week. All right, now joining the jam comes Oak Ridge football head coach and my former head coach in high school, Casey Taylor. Casey, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
So, I mean, great season for you guys. Congratulations on making it a section title. And we really appreciate you coming on. Matt, I know we've got some questions for you. Why don't you get us started off?
Yeah, Case, we talked about this a lot, but I mean, from 3-7 last year to 8-2 this year, a lot of coaches out there would probably love to know how you did that. Can you tell us about that transformation of that process?
Yeah, I should probably make a little video and sell it online or make a little money on, no doubt. No. A lot of it, we were real close last year. I just think coming in so late and just really didn't know what was going on, trying to figure things out. Then we got a pretty good job after that. And after the season was over, just really evaluated everything we were doing. and we knew we had a good group coming back, the seniors who really cared and were, kind of special group. Brought in some new staff, changed some things on defense a little bit. Didn't make excuses. We just had to get better. We weren't, so we started working, got in the weight room. We're lucky to have a strength conditioning coach, Kyle Peterson, that works with us yearly. Our guys really liked him, but really started making a difference in the weight room. So instead of sitting around watching the playoffs, we started lifting. We probably got a good couple months in before the year, and then now with AAU teams and all that, we were able to kind of put our stuff in the spring a little bit more than you normally are. We want our kids to play multiple sports. A lot of our kids were active in the spring, getting faster, doing track and other stuff. I think more than anything was just us kind of doing a lot of team bonding and kind of talking and really evaluating where we are, what's our team chemistry look like. We started seeing ourselves getting better, doing some 7-on-7 in the spring and the summer, and then going to Camp Southern Oregon was a big thing for us. I think we went up there. It was just kind of a getaway, really took some time. We really didn't have a lot of time, even though we're doing stuff, it's on 20-minute periods, but when you're up there 3 or 4 days and talking about deep stuff about your family and sharing stuff. I shared a lot about my growing up because I went to Oak Ridge as well, being a graduate, and my dad wasn't around much and was in and out of jail as a Vietnam vet, and sharing things that are hard to talk about, with kids, and then having kids share stuff with things. There was when you get a dozen 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids crying a little bit and hugging and telling each other they love each other, that's pretty good. So I knew right there we had a pretty good connection of these guys weren't going to be outworked and out toughed or whatever, so obviously do it on the field. We thought we had a real tough non-league. We had some good teams we thought we played on paper, and we beat teams really good early on, but we didn't know how good we were. If just was that, we got into league and got beat by Folsom, so we knew that we weren't as good as we thought we were. And then I was real proud of our guys kind of the next few weeks with a lot of injuries. The next 4 weeks, we really found ways to win games and played well at times. It really gave us a good chance to develop some players. Development of our sophomore tight end, Caleb Edwards, has been great. Our old line, nobody on our line has gotten hurt, so our line seems to get better. And then with the guys getting hurt and guys taking their spots, and now we're getting healthy people coming back, there's a lot of competition again. People want to get out there. I know it's all right. You said you're hurt. We don't need you. We're all right. No, we're fine. But I think a lot of it's that. I see our kids, they play really hard. They love one another. They want to make their coaches proud. They don't ask too many. They ask questions, but they don't. They're caught up in the whatever you need, coach, we'll do it. They're not questioning what we're doing, and they're starting to see results, and our coaching staff has done a great job. We've really gelled. I just feel like kind of changed the culture. We like to have fun at practice. Kids are having fun. It's not a grind. We're upset that it's hard part about the playoffs is you don't know if you're going to play another week. So our whole thing kind of during the week is like, hope we make it to next week. So I think with us, we're not really caught up on. Obviously it's a big game, section championship, but we want to play a couple more weeks. It's not really just being together. We're not, and that's a lot because I've coached a lot of times, and there's been times you're clock watching on how many more days do I got with these guys. I'm about ready to go. But we'd rather spend time together. So I think that's been the key is just our team chemistry. Obviously we got some talent.
Yeah.
But I think just that. And then we've just been really smart. I think offensively, Maddox is just such a great leader, taking care of the football, puts us in. We don't have any bad spots. I think we have 6 turnovers on the year. that's ridiculous for 12 games. And then defensively, we got a great kicker. We got 2 great kickers, but Carson Nichols is as good as I've seen punting and kicking. And so people are going long fields. We're getting short fields, and it seems like when we get short fields, we win pretty good, and we don't, we kind of struggle a little bit. And so I think that'll be really a big key going into Friday night is can we limit the field position battle with Folsom, which we lost the first time around.
And Casey, we always hear about it in college and the NFL of, when you're not that Oak Ridge really needed rebuilding, but I mean, when a new coach takes over, you hear like, hey, this is the schedule, and are we ahead of schedule? Are we behind schedule on where you want to be? And going from 3-7 in your first year to 8-2 the next year, and all of a sudden you're playing for the D1 section title. I mean, is there a schedule for this, team and where you want them to be? And if there is, where are you guys at on that? Are you ahead of schedule?
Yeah. I think it takes a few years to kind of get your stuff in place. But I think you got to listen to your players. I think part of that process I left out, not only did you get in the weight room, we did a lot of evaluation. and we did a lot of talking to the guys. And what do you think about? Not that it was bad. I mean, they had a lot of success, but the regime ahead of me, like they practiced sometimes right after school, sometimes at night. They did some other things, and we found out that kids wanted to get home. So we do it right after school. We were fortunate to get our football class moved from the afternoon to the morning, so we do a lot of stuff in the morning. So when they after lunch they get a couple hours off, come back for practice, and then they're out at 6:30. We wanted to make a commitment to the junior program. We go help them out. We go to give them high fives during the week, and that's really helped develop our reputation a little bit. We're trying to help out around school. But I think a big part of that was just talking to the kids, listening to them, and getting them home so they're eating dinner with their families. That's been a big part. We got a great support. Our parents are making us dinners and breakfasts and things like that, on Thursdays and Fridays like this week, to have all that. So it's a big time family thing. And I think that was probably the main thing. But, going back to how far were we at, I think, if you said, hey, 8-2 and go to the playoffs, I'd probably say, hey, no problem. Where do I sign up? But knowing that we had a good team, I felt we could do more. Like I said, I think when you have that team chemistry, I've had at Del Oro, some of our best teams on paper didn't get as far as some of the teams that did. I think there was probably 2 or 3 teams at Del Oro that were, section championships. One went to the state title that I didn't feel was, that great, if that makes not great, but not talently, but they just loved one another. And so that's why I see in these guys. They don't want to lose. They're going to give it everything, and they're not afraid of the moment. They want to play in big games. They want opportunity. Somebody's got to beat Folsom. I don't know why this group can't do it.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the injuries, and you also told me yesterday that you're as healthy now as you have been, and you had big win against Del Oro in the final game of the season. And then you've really had 2 really good, strong playoff games. Do you feel you guys are peaking at the right time?
There's no doubt, we're peaking at the right time, and that's what we probably talked about that a lot too. There's a preseason, a league season, and then there's a playoff season, and it's great being 10-0, but would you rather be 8-2 and play better, going into these games, and against a team like Folsom, it'd be hard to beat them twice, not that we wanted to lose the first time, but it's hard to beat a good team twice. That's what we feel, and then you can go back and look at some games, like especially against them, we had 2 uncharacteristic discipline penalties, a couple late hits and they're good players of ours that had them that, didn't have that. They really got that. Maddox has only fumbled the ball twice, and that was against them. One of them slipped out of his hand. So we had some things that happened. So, you woulda, coulda, shoulda, you take all that out. We're a lot better. But but we know just in those 3 penalties, we're up in that game 7 points going into halftime. So we know we can play with them. Now we obviously got to play for 48 minutes and not 22 minutes, so that's gonna be a key for us. But I think what's great, like I said, is having guys getting hurt and developing more. I think we got some more options defensively against them, and offensively, I think they got to cover a little bit more stuff they haven't seen. But obviously they're a great program. And then looking, and then playing Rockland like we did on the league, it's tough on the road. Playing a tough game when we lost there, we wanted to go into that game and have a chance to win, even if it was scoring or getting a stop, and we had a chance that both of them didn't get it done, So I think what's great about this team is, we go watch film the next week. We're not yelling at them and cussing them out. We're showing them, look how close we are. We're 1-2 plays away from winning this game by 10 points. But it didn't happen. So how we can get better? So, we go to practice that week and we start working those situations. So we've worked a lot of these situations. We're gonna be ready to go Friday, and you just got hope you play the best you can. I just don't feel like we have to play an A game and everything. They got to turn the ball over 15 times for us to have a chance. I think we got to play great. Don't get me wrong. We're going to play one of our best things, but we just want to compete and get into, like I said, a 4th quarter game and see what happens.
Yeah. What you have to do. You mentioned it. You win the field position battle. You need touchdowns, not field goals.
Yeah.
Contain Rico. Don't turn the ball over. But what are you going to tell the team before the kickoff? Have you thought about that?
Not too far. We got a lot of work to do, but I'll probably tell them, like we always do. We love them, appreciate all their hard work. We always preach, try to get off to a good start. I always say, it's really the first 6 minutes and the last 6 minutes of where you're going. But that first 6 minutes gets you in control of the game. If that's on all 3 phases, you're going to each have possession. You hope your special team guy, we have a guy that can kick at the end zone. Hopefully he can kick at the end zone so they have to go 80. And that's a great thing that Folsom does. They have a good kicker as well. So we got to anticipate you going 80 yards, where most games you're going 30, 70 or 65. And people don't realize that hidden yardage in there is huge, So I think that's what we want to do. We want to do the little things correct. we know we're not going to win every play, but we just want to kind of put plays together, and we want to gain some momentum. You know, we want to we want to make a good strike early on and let them know that, hey, we're here, and hopefully play from ahead. You know, have them chase us a little bit versus always chasing them. I think that's probably been the case over this long drought.
And Casey, kind of, you mentioned your Del Oro days earlier, kind of throwing it back to it. Stone Smart, your former quarterback, made his NFL debut last night for the Chargers. Gets a catch. Can I talk about Stone as a player and also just what it means for you as a coach to see one of your former players make it that far?
Well, it was awesome. You know, and we knew he was in camp, but he got injured early on, so he was on the PUP list and hadn't really heard. I probably reached out to him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He said he was doing good, and he has hope for an opportunity. And we had heard through social media he got put on the active roster. We really didn't know what that meant, you know. So I was watching film, matter of fact, on my table and had the game on, and I heard he was in the game, and everything stopped at our house, and we went and watched it. And just a great kid, a great competitor. You know, he led us to you know, we were thinking about this. We were 2-6 at one point, and he led us to a state title as a junior. And he had great plays, you know, in the championship games, big plays. Then the following year, led us back to the state game again. He's a 4.0 kid. He went to Northern Arizona. It didn't really work out the way he did, so he had to make up like 22 units in one semester. Got that done. He was the JC Player of the Year at Riverside. Went to Old Dominion to be a quarterback, and just it's funny, he finally got his chance, and he had to play against West Virginia and you know, those body bag games, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't do real well, so put another guy in. But instead of quitting, he you know, he's so athlete. He was a great basketball player as well. His mom and dad are great athletes, so he comes from a great, you know, great lineage. And he you know, he moves to tight end, he plays special teams, and he finds his way, you know, he couldn't go to the combine, but he got an agent, you know, met at this park and ran a little bit. And you know, and then last night, you know, number 48, Stone Smart on the catch, you know, just so proud, you know, of him and his hard work. And, you know, just a great kid, just, you know, living his dream and fulfilling his dream, and see that happen. And I texted him last night, and thanks, coach. And, you know, love you, this and that. It's just, it's just a great moment for him. And hopefully it continues. They really said some nice stuff about him, so that was good to hear too. They weren't butchering his name or anything like that. So hopefully that'll continue, but we're real proud of him. And, you know, it's neat to see that happen.
All right. It's awesome to see, Matt. Do you have anything else you want to ask before we cut it?
No questions. Just good luck to you, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for all your coverage. You guys do a great job, and I appreciate everything you do for, you know, high school sports and Oak Ridge football.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us.
You bet, guys. Have a good holiday.
You too.
You too.